Hello, dear Starshines. Christina here with Light Body Academy. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. We'll give everybody a moment to get on board. We'll give us the crew a second to get here. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about topics and issues that are significant for starseeds, way showers, new paradigm visionaries. We have abilities and perceptions that are very unique to our particular demographic of people, let's say, that is not necessarily embraced by the larger numbers of humanity. Therefore, we have very specifically different ways in which we address today's challenges. So I am here to do, to the best of my ability anyhow, to give a liberated perspective to these topics and issues. So welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. All right, dear Starshines. And as you come on, say hi. Let us know where you're coming from. Hello, dear Sister Polly. Good to see you. Hi, Carol. Good to see you. Laura. Mwah, love you, darling. So good to see you. Yeah, it's super windy day in Colorado. Yes, yes, yes. Minnesota. Cool, cool, cool. Carol's from Minnesota. I don't know if I probably said this when you told me. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I did say this. I had family for a while in Minnesota, seated there. All right, so we have lots of cool stuff to talk about, and I know that we're kind of. I was able to post things ahead of time so you guys can check out the videos and the information and stuff like that, and maybe mull it around yourself a little bit about these topics. But so the first thing I want to talk about is exo-politics, and really, you know, how to engage with exo-politics in a way that is you remaining in your sovereignty and remaining in your infinite creator consciousness. Because really, politics is politics, whether it's of this planet or of other planets. You know what I mean? So I want to talk about that, because that is something that really, I think, defines the difference between multidimensionals and some of the other groups of people that are closely related to some of the areas that we're interested in, such as like the disclosure movement, or, you know, a lot of spiritual dogma, ET-led stuff. You know what there's some hairs to split within all of that. And then I want to talk about the transgender thing that's happening right now. It's you know, I feel like it's another political, you know, agenda to hurt people and divide people. So I feel like that got hijacked. So I want to talk about this a little bit. And also in the bigger scope of things, how, you know, I want to like really provide the bigger picture here of how that's all playing in. And then, oh my gosh, there was the other one. What was the other piece I was going to talk about that I posted? Oh, it was Dear Sister Starshine's email about soul. What is soul? So she had and you know who you are, and I'm just not mentioning your name because I didn't ask you ahead of time if it was okay. so if you want to claim it, darling, if you feel free. It was a question that you asked me that I wasn't able to get to respond individually. So I want to respond here because I think there's a lot of people that may share your experience. And that is, you know, being in meditation, asking a question of the soul, getting an answer, and it's not a helpful answer. It's kind of like, what do you want? I don't want anything. And then you kind of like reach a dead end with your guidance. You know, it's like, uh-oh, now I don't know where to go with that. I don't have any idea. I don't have any other, like, huh? You know, you guys have ever had that where you ask a question of your higher self or whatever, and then you're left with a huh instead of like a deep, thoughtful response that moved you somewhere, right? So that's the way in which I want to talk about that. And I think, yeah, as I said, a lot of people could benefit. All right, dear sisters. Hello, Beverly. Good to see you. And Andrew and Danny from Colorado. And then we have Laura. Oh, okay. Asking about Laura. Da, da, da. Morning, y'all. Hola. Aloha. Yes, dear sister Joanne from Hawaii. Awesome. Cool. All right. So where shall I begin? Okay, I want to talk about the exopolitics thing because it'll segue perfectly into the manipulation with the transgender stuff. So the exopolitics, right? For those of you that weren't able to see the video that was posted in the comments in our Facebook group, Rise of Multidimensional Human, or in our Telegram group, Multidimensional Human, if you were not able to see that video, I'm just going to just slightly recap it because it went into many different levels of the narrative that I feel truly is a real narrative. So I'm just going to recap it. And if you want to go back and find the video quickly, it has like an alien head holding something with a triangle of like fire and a circle, and something else inside that, some geometry inside that on the cover, on the thumbnail. Okay, so getting into it. So the idea is, as the story goes, so our control systems that be on this planet have an agenda to break our society, starting with the West, which is destroying the dollar, destroy the economy, create a lot of chaos and suffering in the world. I mean, watching what our country's doing with the whole stuff in Eastern Europe is a great example. It's like, if you want to really exacerbate a situation, do exactly what they're doing, right? It's like a playbook. So, and there's this agenda to undermine economies and take away the quality of life and really put people into a suffering place so there can be a savior to come and make it all okay. And in this narrative, the savior is beings coming from a craft and meeting with our UN leaders and coming out and making some announcements. And in the first step in that relationship, they're going to give us technology, or we're going to release all the free energy technology on this planet, and we're going to have a new financial system. We're going to end all suffering. We're going to end all war. We're going to bring peace. Everybody's going to have a place to live and be kind of like given a utopian idea of civilization, but it's actually a ruse for us to give over our reproductive sovereignty and other things. All right. So when you go from a suffering place and you're given a life of comfortable, people will fight to keep that comfortable. So this is how you get everybody to go along with the program. They are happy to go along with that program. And the ET species, or the ET council of beings that come down in a craft, is a council called the Ashtar Command. Now, there are people that are significant influencers that actually have a lot to say about Ashtar Command and a lot to say about ETs coming down and saving us from ourselves and all this stuff. And in fact, I'm really curious about where you guys are at in that narrative. Do you resonate with the idea of a species coming and rescuing us from our overlords that are creating havoc and destroying the beauty of our world? You know what I mean? Are we in favor of that? Is that something that is useful? There are different spectrums. Lots of people are in different places, such as some people believe that is a cop-out and that will never happen because humanity will never learn their lesson. And yet on the other side, there are people saying that ETs have been wanting to correct the mistakes on this planet that's been done to its consciousness and all this other stuff. And now that with an introduction to the galactic society, so to speak, humanity can finally step into their birthright as a galactic citizen, and they can now participate in a larger scope of society and life. And then, of course, there's many people who are in between. I would love to hear where you guys are at. And if it's difficult to put in words, we will do it like this, just so you can put 1 or 5, do a number. Like 1 is that any ET coming to save us isn't really, you know what I mean, is not going to help humanity, blah, blah, blah. And then, because savior is just going to undermine us. And then the saviors are coming is a 5. So 1 and 5, and then you can put where you are in the spectrum of that, just to make it simple. And of course, you're welcome to, type in your thoughts, because I want to hear that too. I'm just thinking for those who don't have time to type or can't really type because they're on some kind of device or whatever. Okay, dear sister Beverly says, okay, Joanne says both equals and so much more. Okay, all right. Hello, dear sister Paula from Florida. All right, Beverly, going back to, I don't think ETs will overstep. I think they can help in terms of the malevolent abuse, but for our individual awakening, nope, that's on us. I don't think they'll help with that. Okay. And then dear brother Andrew says, whoever first comes and says they're saving us are going to be the beings that lead us to our doom. Danny and I aren't getting on any ship, LOL. All right. And Beverly says from, malevolent abuse, she's just correcting her typo. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm just going to put a couple of those up so people can see that. All right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So, because after all, there is the eighth dimension, which is a kind of like a framework, a light structure framework for consciousness, for ethical behavior and ethical engagement with life. Okay, so there is an eighth dimensional construct all the way up to where we, to that frequency of the isness, what we consider God, creator, right? Structure that informs us of ethical behavior and consciousness, like what is appropriate in our engagement with life forms with less technology. Things such as, the prime directive, right? All right, dear sister. All right, dear sister Griffin says, I am one of the saviors. I'm already here. All right, girlfriend. That's awesome. All right, and dear sister Carol, not necessarily rescuing maybe, but helping us. Okay, and then Laura. Laura says, I feel the change must come from within ourselves, and only then we'll be able to have a relevant change. Okay, cool. All right, so there is a rather significant narrative about Nasera, Jacera, and about ETs, bringing their money system and technology and bringing us into the trade system of a larger galactic. And I can definitely see how that is something significant for the consciousness of humanity to engage with. But there is a back end. Okay, and Andrew's agreeing with y'all. So, and there's a back end to all that. And so still we are still in a society of commerce. We're in a society of trading life force. We're still in this, you see what I mean? We're still in that structure of commodity, right? Things are a commodity. There's numbers, there's ratios, there's algorithms. You see what I mean? Yeah, totally. Okay, so this is something to consider. And so it's the next phase of the narrative in that video is that eventually, through significant DNA augmentation, the human body will be prepared to be able to manage long distance space flight. Space travel, and we will travel to the Pleiades as our genetically altered cousins from who we are right now, and then interact with them and decide, because of some sort of clash, we will, because of it in our more advanced technology, we will try to go to battle with them, go to war. So that means that we never really left the predator mentality behind, okay, if that's the case. So the next step in the narrative is that the Pleiadians, because they're multidimensional in their technology and their awareness, after all, they are the keepers of the Akashic field for us, just like humans are the keepers of the 3D field, right? That they sent ground troops, they sent people back to these times to influence and create an alternate timeline. And in that alternate timeline, there's a very significant faction of humans that do not embrace the technology, that do not embrace or move into the smart cities and stuff like this, and instead embrace a rural life in nature. And they stay close to the earth. Okay, now, and the idea of that narrative is that both sides are allowed to live in peace. Both sides are, both sides can coexist with harmony. Okay, now, just let me know where you resonate with that next part of the narrative about having to do that to create a new timeline. The part that really interests me in that narrative is the part where they needed to send their many beings of their consciousness to this life stream of the planet to get enough humans together to create a new timeline. Because what that is telling me is that through when a collective consciousness reaches to a certain level, certain resonance, we create alternate timelines. The other thing I hear in that is that it's another story of bifurcation timelines. And I know many of you may not have been listening to me all these years ago, but this is something that I used to get a lot of trouble in talking about, because when I'm with the consciousness of the Pachamama, when I'm like really in deep resonance with the earth, I don't get that she's saying yes, because she's actually the one in charge of what makes this timeline. Without her, none of that's happening, right? There is no yes for bifurcation. When I'm deep in resonance with the Pachamama, we are all in this together, okay? And it's not and the timeline is not to go into the transhuman direction, into the cyborg, into embracing technology to handicap consciousness, but instead technology is used to benefit all life, right? So when I'm in the deep resonance of the Pachamama and the deep dream of the Pachamama, there's no bifurcation. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because you also have your reference too, where you're at. Now, it could be that you're in a soul group that's interested in the bifurcation timeline. Maybe you were, but you can jump camp anytime, by the way. You don't have to stay on board with the soul group that you came here with. As many of us probably discovered over this lifetime, you can really shift collective agendas, so to speak. You don't have to stick with the ones you came here with. All right, let me go back here. So, good to see you, Ella. So good to see you, sweetie. I wonder if the graphene oxide is part of preparing the DNA for travel. Ooh, that's an interesting thought. That's a very interesting thought, because it's altering your magnetics, right? Yeah. Beverly, however, because the difference between extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings, that adds more complexity into the question. Oh, it does, doesn't it? I don't think interdimensional beings can be more help. Okay. Then Gina says, as someone who has always been a truth teller, I am definitely a savior in this time full of. Wait a minute. I am definitely a savior in this time full of people who protect those who lie and perpetrate untruths. Read the book, Courage to be Disliked. That's me. Okay, so I can see why learning how to cut through that and stand up for yourself is definitely part of your healing journey. And this is something that is so classic, because I know you're a starseed. It's so classic for starseeds, is that the things that really work to break you free of certain things lose their relevancy once you're made your breakthrough. So you make your breakthrough, it's not even relevant. The next piece would be almost to even work opposite of that, as in now understand how Savior is creating an imbalance in your life, how Savior is losing life force energy. Okay, so I'm just saying that because there's a much bigger picture, huge horizon that you're on, and you're playing a really big role. Each of us are playing a really big role in our influence in the collective, and it just helps not slow us down, to make it okay to let what has worked, let it go, and move on to that next step, to what's working. Because I mean, that has been some really painful lessons for me. I remember when working with the medicine people, of the Andes, we went through this training that took years and years and years and years of cultivating this beautiful medicine bundle, this treasured baby that we carry around everywhere we go. And well, not all of us everywhere we go, but you know what I mean? And it's been such a deep part of our seeding and our growing process and our medicine work and our healing work and our service work and all this stuff. It's a beloved bundle. And then they say, okay, well, now you can let all that bundle go and just work with this one rock. And with this one kuya, and eventually you won't even want to work. You don't even need to work with this kuya anymore. And you can imagine, everybody's reaction was like, "Oh no!" So they didn't make us give up anything, but the seed was planted. And several years later, I can't recall exactly how many years, but several years later, I ended up giving up that mesa, letting it rest, and not even taking the stone, and just being without that, and without that as a tool, without that, which it's not really being without, it's more about using all those components in a whole nother different way, completely on the energetic, instead of having the physical manifestation in front of me. So it was definitely a challenge to the thought of getting past that, but once you're ready, and it's something that makes complete sense. You know what I mean? And so that's what I want to make okay. When you're ready, it's going to make complete sense, and there's no rush. It's just that sometimes we'll hang on a little bit longer. I'm a stubborn type, so I'll hang on a longer, convincing myself I can work it out in some way longer than I need to. All right. Dear Andrew says, Danielle here. So is it possible that some of us are already on that alternative? Is it possible? What happened to that? Danielle, where'd you go? Oh, there you go. So is it possible that some of us are already on that alternate timeline? Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the thing. If we believe or we want a bifurcation timeline, getting us on board is the only way for it to happen. Beings don't get to come here and play God, so to speak, as they once pretended to do. Okay, we're waking up to ourselves as infinite being in a biosuit. All of the capabilities of the biosuit that has been shut down because of belief systems and traumas and akashic spiritual manipulation and blah 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 blah. All that stuff is unwinding. We are waking up to the truth of who we are. So that means you only need, 5% of this planet of awakened beings to agree, and boom, we own it. This 3D reality is ours. It's not any other beings. So other beings don't get to come in and command anything right now. Right now, there's beings coming in and making commands, right? And giving orders to the different structures of this world. Like, when we are awoke to who we really are, we are the ones that are at the keyboards of the Saturn energy. We are the one that is at the helm of the Mars consciousness. You know what I mean? We're reclaiming our consciousness on these levels, and we are the ones who make a purposeful decision on where the sun, our solar ring, is going while traveling through the Milky Way galaxy. It's called steering the sun. And it's a dreamtime experience. And when you go into those levels, you are with others joining with you in that experience. So this narrative is one still hijacking our consciousness, because there's a lot of people that are upset with the technology revolution, and there's a lot of people that really do pray for a bifurcation of timelines because they want only the people who are this, and this to survive on this planet. And the ones on the other side only want people who do this, and this, or they're just doing what they're told, or you know what I mean? Whatever the narrative is giving to them, as long as it means that they live a comfortable life, okay, they're going to go with it, right? So this is, we need to reclaim this. We need to reclaim this on all the way up to the dreamtime level, and then none of that even matters. None of it matters. That's truly reclaiming our citizenship in the galactic. We are reclaiming ourselves as the infinite creative masters, right? not a citizenship in a commodity game where it's just a bigger political game, where it's just a bit of bigger monetary game. That's the reality that dear brother George Kavaslis calls empire. It's a cosmic interdimensional empire of commodity of life force energy. And that does not necessarily need to be us. In the way I'm seeing it. Now, let me check in more here. As a possible, yeah. So this timeline thing, right? I'm going to encourage everybody for the next week to do whatever you can to spend 10 minutes as deep as possible in your rhythms, just feeling your love for the earth, feeling your love for the Pachamama. And while you're in that, ask her to show you, what she wants and what your role is. Ask her. And be quiet and still when you listen. Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm going on tangent now. Okay. So this transhuman movement going on, it's a setup. And so is, it's a setup in a lot of ways in the way I'm looking at it. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be, this is another political ET agenda to influence the master creators of this planet so they can participate in this reality. You see what I mean? They need us to include them. And so they're using that manipulation. When we realize that we are the master creator, literally dreaming every moment of this reality into being, they cannot hijack us anymore. They cannot. And they will not. All right. It's evolving me. Oh yeah, good. Thank you, Gina. And then Gina says, truth isn't working. Wait a minute, truth isn't working. It is restful. That's how I know it's right. Okay. Definitely don't hang out things, don't hang out on, hang on to things. Yes, want something. All right, cool. Hi, Lavana, good to see you. Shanu says, how does one know that they are getting awakened or already are awakened? Thank you. Yeah. So, you just notice the juxtaposition between how you perceive things and how everybody around you perceives things. I notice that when I'm with groups of people, there's a lot of ideas that it's like we could be super big and expanded while we interact and move and stuff like that. And when I'm around like larger collectives of people, I can feel how they're actually like stuffed and shaped into these little containers with their thoughts and their belief systems. It's the weirdest thing. But when you're awakened, it's like you can tell you're past that. It's like maybe you could put your finger on it, maybe you can't. For me, I couldn't put words to it for a long time. I needed to surround other people who saw it alternately like I did in order to figure out how to put a language to this stuff, right? So it definitely is a discovery process. Definitely. So it's that feeling. And back in, 2016, 15, they were saying that there was about 20% of this planet were star seeds, and 20% of that 20% were going to wake up. Okay, and then I rechecked in with that council, and they were saying, okay, now 80% of the planet is 80% of the life coming to this planet are star seeds, and more than half of those are going to wake up. So our awakening is absolutely happening, and you'll know because liberation will start happening. You'll start feeling relieved in certain circles. You'll start feeling relieved with certain breakthroughs on a collective level. Like I noticed that my perceptions, whatever happened the past second, third, fourth, something totally shifted. And now I'm like seeing way beyond how I was seeing before. And, I haven't I don't really have in my head what happened, but I know something happened, right? So it's kind of like stuff like that. When you're awakened, something happened. You don't know what it is exactly, but you could tell that something happened because now you're seeing things differently. You're thinking about things differently. You're getting kind of like downloads of that are creating epiphanies, stuff like that. All right, dear sister Joanne says, moving from savior to holder of frequency to my best ability, moment by moment. Ah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Joanne. Here, let me do that one. Okay, cool. All right, so an offshoot to this, to exo-politics and the manipulation of consciousness and all this stuff. There's tied in this really interesting gender conflict, gender movement. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but in more closely held indigenous circles, there is an understanding that there are more than just two sexes of the human race. Different ones say different things, but in a gist, there are at least 5 sexes of the human race that I've heard talked about. Okay, and we need to look at that and realize that this gender bending has been going on for thousands of years, and it's been recognized, and in more ancient cultures accepted, as in they had a place in their society. But we're also talking about in more ancient societies, we had roles more closer to the truth of who we are. We weren't in these confined roles that we're in now. For example, the male-female dance is a perfect one to give. If you were, remember in the old days, or even in some cultures to this day, if you were an older female without children, they wondered what's wrong with you. And you were considered a spinster, and some like derogatory comments would be used to criticize that. But in more ancient cultures, the ones that truly honored the truth of humans, that wasn't what validated a woman. Wasn't how much brood they can produce. It was way different than that. So it wasn't all about the heterosexual relationship. It was, more about living a creative life and what those circumstances were for you to be that creative being. So we're all discombobulated. We're all completely bass-backwards when it comes to our relationship to gender and sexuality and stuff like this. I'm saying all like the human cultures. Christianity is a big reason for that. Shaming everything sexual, shaming everything that's not, mission style child creation, right? So there's all these layers to it, because then you also have the mystery schools that taught us the deep mysteries of how to heal with sexual energy, and that got hijacked and taken over. And then you had the goddess mysteries of how to use creative energy to actually manifest beings immaculately within our womb space. So there's this huge spectrum here that humans just en masse do not have a healthy relationship with, because they don't see it for what it is. Like arousal, when you have arousal in certain circumstances and you feel like you didn't invite that, people often may feel like that is an invasion of some sort. But really, it's just your body turning on more levels of itself. You know what I mean? But we don't have that frame up of understanding. So let me circle back around to the transgender stuff. Now, politics is all about hijacking the narrative so you can control it. The best way to control a narrative is to inflame it as much as possible. Okay. So when it comes to the transgenders that I have experienced in my life, which there's probably about maybe 24 in different spectrums, I can tell you that all of what people are talking about stereotypically about transgenders, I don't think is the truth, because the ones that I have met and known were nothing like that, So some were in the process of actually doing surgery. Some in the process were just living their life looking like a different sex. And then there are beings where I'm looking at them beautiful beings. Actually, I can remember three that I've seen. I don't know them. I just happened to come across them. And I was astounded by their beauty. One was this Asian descent, this girl, well, I don't know if it was a girl, she was a girl or a boy, a being of Asian descent. She was resting by a tree at the end of this trailhead. And I mean, I was just struck by her beauty. I'm saying her because the features that I saw seemed to be feminine. You know, the jawline, the cheekbones seemed to be feminine, but you know, she could have been a boy for all I knew, because there also were those kinds of traits too with her. But I was just like struck at her beauty. And I pondered for a while and realized with her energy, his energy, and everything about that level, about that being, I couldn't tell if they were male or female. And then I thought maybe this is one of those third sexes that the elders would talk about, you know, and I was not going to go up and ask them, you know, but it was definitely an interesting seed getting planted with me when I was coming off that hike. And then another one was I was in Boulder. I was at some kind of, I think we were making concoctions with herbal. It was an herbal class, making concoctions, and there was someone that brought their partner, and I'm pretty sure she was female, but very male, but in a beautiful way. It was like the eyes were like mesmerizing. It was like they're these beings that mesmerize you. They're with who they are, and they don't fit in either category, or they fit in both categories perfectly, you know. And I'm believing that that's the third sex. So that's all cool. I think that having those kinds of interactions are really helpful for people to bust out of their own ideas of limitations about themselves. You know, I think it really helps push the boundaries of what we perceive as a cultural limit or whatever. Like, it helps us question things. When I was young, I loved David Bowie, and my sister was a huge David Bowie fan, and he was a gender bender. And I remember just watching what he was doing, was like, wow, that is just like outrageous. I liked it, but it was outrageous. And you know what I mean? And another gender bender that I was a huge fan of and still am was Prince. Who doesn't love Prince, right? Come on. What a creative human being he was. So I feel like that growing up, not understanding who you are, not having anything to reference, or growing up with really closed-minded people, that, you know, being in that way could really be difficult, right? I think that could be absolutely true, because there are a few that I knew that were transgender that had a lot of trauma, that had a lot of discomfort within them, in their bodies. There was a woman that I known for years and years and years that, I mean, as soon as you look at her, you can tell she's a man trapped in a woman's body, right? That's like instantly the vibe you get. Beautiful woman, wise, smart, professional. I mean, totally made her way in the world. And so it's like the issue is getting inflamed purposefully, because there are other beings that want to make an enemy out of those people. They want to give a narrative that makes an enemy out of those people. I feel like that's the real agenda, what's going on with this sports thing. I feel like that's purposely done so they can inflame the situation, so people will just file up and take one side or the other. It's wrong, it's weird, it's this, it's, oh, well, you're not, and you know, whatever that narrative is that you're really drawn to, right? It's like, it's purposefully being done so we can latch onto something and take a side and have an opinion, not realizing the sensitive beings that are caught in the middle, that are really getting hurt by this, right? I don't think we realize how sensitive people are. Ooh. And then I met a dear starshine over the weekend that is playing with that. And it's just like, what a sensitive being this person was. I don't know why I'm getting emotional about it now. we have to understand that we're sensitive, and that's not a thing that makes anything wrong. It's that, all of these people are getting pitted up against each other because they're trying to feel safe. They're trying to have a place in the world. They're trying to find their way. And normally, without the agenda and the inflammation, we would probably figure it out. We would all figure it out. But there's these other layers in here that want the polarization, that want the inflammation, and therefore they're the ones in the way. They're getting in the way. And that is the exact same, and I recognize it because that's the exact same tactic that's happening with the exo-politics narratives. It's the exact same tactic, just, spun in a different way. So we gotta unplug we have to unplug the best way we can to work these ways. Because quite literally, if there's technology that can be given to humanity that would bring peace on earth, even if it's done with an agenda, I would say, I think we need to try that, but then, not give our sovereignty up. Like, go, you see what happens, and then be mindful of not giving up our sovereignty as we are interacting with those ETs. I feel like there's a way to weave this all together into that one timeline where we all wake up, where we all make it to that next place that we're going, that next universe in which we're about to unfold our consciousness within. All right. Okay. All right. You're totally misconstruing two separate issues. Am I? I don't know. You have to say more on that. Andrew, yes, it's deliberately dividing us, divide and conquer. Shanu, thank you, Shanu. That's very sweet. Yeah. So, I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like just because someone is gender bending that has to make them my enemy because I'm a breeder. I have kids, I have offspring in this world. It's like, I don't think I think that's ridiculous. Just like with colors of skin and nationalities and religions, it's like, why would I think someone's a jerk just because they look like that or they practice like this? It's like, it's ridiculous. The whole idea is ridiculous. And, starseeds and multidimensionals understand that. All right. I'm on a rut. Oh, I didn't ignore it, darling. I didn't ignore it. I just missed it. That's all. No big deal. I'll just go back and see what we got going on. You don't know the native terms for the other genders. We learned them growing up. Yeah, right. So the younger generations have been given language for this. Yeah, I know my kids are educating me. I just don't have it now. I don't know the native terms. All right. Is that offensive? I'm not trying to be offensive. I hope I'm trying to get to the point that when people are inflamed about something, they are manipulated. Okay. You're not younger. I'm not younger. Yeah, you are. You are younger. Okay. But yeah, it's fine. Whatever. No need to get into it about it. Andrew nailed it. It is deliberate. I agree. Yeah, it is. It's totally deliberate. And this is kind of an example when we get into polarizations. It's like when we have to, if we insist that it's this way and it's the only way, I'm right, and if you don't see that, you're wrong. That's a highly polarized energy that we get in, and then where's the room for other? It's like the room for other kind of goes away. It's like now there's a combative or some sort of acquiescence dance that's required to unravel it, right? If both parties want to unravel it. If only one party wants to unravel it and the other doesn't, then it stays a stalemate, and there we go. That's how that goes. We are in these times where that is being used to its max, absolutely. And it's happening not just like in our actual exchanges as language, but it's also happening on grid work levels, on different energy levels that are in the unseen. like programming, subliminal programming, the light from technologies, all this stuff is influencing things. There's a wonderful, well, I won't get down that road because that might be kind of freaky for people. Just know that there are lots of deep technologies happening that are influencing us, attempting to influence from the inside out, that I've seen, and it's really crazy. Like the graphene oxide is a great example. You know, there is a scientist that shows that you can actuate that graphene oxide with certain EMF frequencies that causes it to move, come together, and create a whole nother like bot that also can be influenced with EMF frequencies. It's really trippy. So there's a lot of thoughts about that is actually in a very advanced technology that humanity is playing with right now. So, okay. All right. So I also want to get to Dear Starshine's email message. So let me get to that. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have had that prepared. Let me get that up. I thought it was open, but it wasn't. All right, here we are. Yeah. I'll get to them. I'll get to the messages. Don't worry. Groups. Rise. Chiyama. And the other thing that, that's really going on is this Mars energy is really hitting people hard. It's like this expression of setting boundaries, the expression of, just that volcanic masculine explosion energy. There's a lot of that happening, which I think we are watching around us. Let me get to, where are you? Oh, here it is. Thank you, darling. All right. Okay, so actually, there's another question that dear sister Laura asked, so we'll try to get to that too, and then we'll get to our comments. All right, so it says Christina, I found myself asking myself the last few days, what does my soul want? The initial response in meditation was the soul does not want anything. Then I asked, what does the soul need? And it seems like the answer was the same. Do you have input on this? I thought if I could figure out what my soul wants, I would follow that direction. Okay, this is a great piece. So this is a great piece. So because this is something that happens, and there's lots of levels to this. So I mentioned a little bit in the beginning. So first thing is the way you ask, everything is according to how you ask. So it's the words, it's the perception that you're coming from, it's how you say it that is gold. And if you frame something up with your words without realizing it, then what happens is your feedback loop, all you have is the quality of the answer, right? And that feedback loop is important because if it's the golden gold, you will get a response that takes you deep. It'll be like, oh, wow, right? And if it's framed up, even if you don't realize it, in a way that's off, the feedback will be something more flat. Now, because we are all connected to ourselves, and it's confusing sometimes to listen, or sometimes it's really hard to listen because of all the inner noise happening. But bottom line is, when it's important, that aspect of us makes contact, right? Makes contact with us. So the soul is, I would say, it's asking the ego driver what it needs to align with your soul. What is it that your ego driver needs to do so you are body, mind, and spirit aligned with the consciousness of your soul? That's how I would look at it. But try different ways. I would say revisit, write down maybe 6 different ways to ask that question, and then go with the one that really resonates. Because I understand humanity is trained bass backwards, it helps me shift perspectives because as soon as I'm really sure that I'm right about something, I can also be pretty sure that I'm not, if that makes sense. All right, let's go back to where are we at? Where are we at? Nailed it. You said we're all ass backwards about gender and we aren't. Why? Well, I mean, okay, so you don't agree with that. All right, I am First Nation, and we grew up knowing two spirits, five genders. Okay, okay. Well, I'm talking about Western culture, darling. That's what I'm talking about. We are bass backwards. Yeah, I mean, just look around. Girls can't exist without a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or you know what I mean. There's all kinds of codependency woven in deep into our culture. So this is just what I'm talking because I'm coming from Western culture. All right, Lavana says the geo is off the chart all the time. People seem extra brick walled by the whole idea of it. Yep, 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 yep. Oof. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Oh, here, let me put some of these up because they're really good. All right, the job was to reveal without matching the energies, the agendas which would have us Earthians polarized and at each other's throat. The agenda's purpose is to manipulate and control. I agree, Joanne, 100%. Christina, I saw dolphins flying. Maybe it was a dream or a vision. Can you kindly tell us what is the significance? Yes, yes. So they're interdimensional. Dolphins are interdimensional when their brains are more activated than ours. So if you're flying with dolphins, to me, I hear in that you're traveling through interdimensional realms. Your parts of you are traveling through interdimensional realms, and you're interacting with dolphins, and that's actually yeah, yeah, very cool, very cool. All right, and then we have anytime you use the pronouns you or they, them instead of us, we contribute to the bifurcation of purpose and purpose of, wait a minute, bifurcation of purpose and creates. Yeah, creates sides. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. So, I'm not claiming to be all up on my pronouns or something. I'm just sharing how I'm looking at the whole deal. There are some indigenous cultures that acknowledge 7 genders, so there are many different ways to look at it. I feel like that when we can allow people to be outside, be not confined by a particular cultural narrative, they have a place in the world, and that's not something hard. That's not something that we have to like have a think tank about. It just is. And these narratives steal that. They really steal that from people. There's a lot of people who are friendly with the I'm just going to say alternative communities. I don't really know how that fits exactly, but you know that are really offended by what's going on. So to think that just because you are say a white woman, or just because you are a black man, or just because you are a transgender, or just because you are a lesbian, that you can speak for all lesbians, or all black men, or all white women, or all transgender. That's ridiculous. You can share your experience, and likely that experience has a commonality with other people's experiences, right? But it's like, to make that one person the spokesperson, the banner person for that whole community, I feel like that's really unfair. That's really, really unfair. I mean, again, I can go back to Prince. He bent all sorts of social constructs. It's like he was not limited by any of them, and he rocked them all out. He touched them all with his creativity. Okay, it says sound works now. Does it work now? Let me know if the sound is on now. What happened was the iPad will stop right at the top of the hour. Okay, let me know if there's sound. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. That happens. All right. Let me finish. Let me finish this last question that Dear Starshine was asking. I got kicked out. Where was I? There we go. Here's the question. The question is, why am I so anxious for the well-being of Earth? I feel so sad for our human destruction. How can I help? Okay, so this is right. So this is we are a mass traumatized species. So we all remember the fall of consciousness, the fall of Atlantis. You know what I mean? We all have a narrative, no matter what culture we're from, that there was a fall of some sort, right? So this happens because it's the truth. It traumatized all of the human race, and it's in our cellular memory. So when we are being told Armageddon narratives, when we're being told the end of the world narratives, when we're being told mass catastrophe narratives, it triggers that deep, deep, deep trauma within us. And our DNA is waking up more and more and more. And eventually, in order for us to really make a leap forward, we have to address that part of our DNA that got shut down because of that trauma. So until all of that DNA becomes reactivated and doing its full DNA dance, we're still going to have extreme, huge triggers around the ideas of the end of the world, the destruction of our planet, and so forth. Now, I'm not saying that, right, so that's like, because that narrative is used to control us. It's used to scare, it's been used to scare our children. It's used to create fear. Now, the actual disrespect and misuse of our planet, that is painful too, but that's a different experience. That's something that that hurts everybody. Everybody who is watching a forest cut down, there is a sadness, a huge sadness, because there is so much life that's being snuffed out, being displaced, right? So those doorways into that sadness, that we can use that to get deeper into our wounding that goes back to that first catastrophe. So we can use that thread, the truth of that frequency, the truth of that emotion, and move it and draw us, magnetize us down to the seed of the drama that is in our being about Atlantis, and then move the energy, and we can help reawaken that part of ourselves. That's how we can help, by activating that DNA that's been shut down from that drama, activating the memories that we had when we were with that level of consciousness, reclaiming lost parts of ourselves from those times. All of that work we can do, that will help. We do that, it heals us, it heals our children, our grandchildren, or it heals our lineage in different ways. So by us doing our personal work, by using these triggers to take them to their seed, to their core, that's a profound service. That is a profound service that we do, that we're capable of. Okay. So, and this is what I mean, as multidimensional, you wake up to realize you are not powerless at all in this game. Sure, we're not necessarily in charge of a multi-million-dollar corporation to set agendas to steer the collective. We're coming from a place way beyond that. We are coming from the very morphic field from which that kind of stuff is created, right? So that's the level that we're working on. That's the level that we're unraveling things from. And it's one step in front of the other. There's only so much that we can perceive while we're in a biosuit. This is why dream time is really helpful for us. We can start looking beyond the human programming. We can go beyond the conditioned nesting dolls that tell us that, certain way things have to be a certain way. We go beyond that, and we actually dip our awareness. We can dip our gourds, so to speak, in the well of infinite creation and bring that back with us. So now we can create whatever we want with that life force energy because it's ours in the first place. You know, a leader that, and going back to, you know, tribal wisdom, a leader that is big in their heart, a leader that has the interest of the whole sincerely in their heart space can absolutely change the quality of life for all of humanity. Okay, that's the kind of leadership humanity is calling for again. We don't need more politics. We don't need more of that, right? There's enough life force energy really draining into all that circus. When you have a leader that's truly open-hearted and truly cares for, is making decisions for the wellness of humanity, it's a totally different story going on. And I think we all can agree that that's not exactly the story we're getting right now. Oh, right. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Laura. Thank you. Yes. To everyone, come and work with us at Light Body Academy. Wow, transformative for us, Mother Earth, and all of life. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Yes, dear Sister Starshine. We've been having a lot of big breakthroughs as a group lately in Light Body. And yeah, it is exciting. And this is why I'm always feeling a completely different perspective, because where we're at, what's going on is not what most people are aware of. You know what I mean? All right, but I'm going to check out now. So thank you everybody for being here. If you guys are interested in exploring the Academy, the place you want to start is the Quantum Reality Shift. Another place you can start is check out our dragon play. So we're going to do a training on playing with your dragon, getting to know who your dragon is. And if you already know your dragon, just go more deeply into ways of working and working with other people's dragons. And it's kind of like, well, that's why it's called dragon play, exploring interaction with the dragon levels of who you are and other people's levels like that too. And that is going to start May 6th. So you can find information on that in our store at thelightbodyacademy.com as well. All right, darlings. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye-bye.